Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be converting our conventional brake system to a HydroBoost system, so stick around. Alright everybody, I've got to get this out of the way. So we are working with our brakes and with our power steering system, which are probably two of the most critical components on a vehicle. If you can't stop it or steer it, you're going to have a bad time. So that being said, if you don't have the confidence to do a swap like this, I recommend paying somebody who does or just not doing it. Unfortunately, not a lot of people want to take the just not do it steps. So in that case, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. If you're like, don't get this project done and just immediately go run out on the interstate and go 70, 80 mile an hour and then hit your brakes and hope they work. Cruise around your neighborhood a little bit at a slow speed. Make sure you have brakes. Ease out of the garage first. Check that stuff, because it's a lot easier to get the thing shut down in your driveway or in your neighborhood and have somebody pull you back to the house or limp it back to the house than it is for you to go out there and cause a wreck. Let's kick this thing off. Let me show you what we have on the table today to work on. So I went to my local pull apart today and I scored me a HydroBoost system power steering pump. I've got pressure line from the pump to the HydroBoost unit. This is a vent line that goes kind of a case drain, I guess you could call it, and then this line right here goes from HydroBoost to our steering gearbox. You will also need a vehicle brake pedal that has HydroBoost on it. Pedals are essentially the same, except this mounting lug right here, which goes into this eyelet. It is in a little bit different area, so there's a little bit different lever action on that. So definitely need to get a pedal as well. Here's the HydroBoost unit. I actually picked this one up a couple months ago from the same salvage yard. So basically it just replaces the big vacuum canister that was originally on the truck. Brake booster, whatever they want to call that, big round canister, and your master cylinder. From everything I've read on the net, take that with a grain of salt, you can reuse your factory master cylinder. So here's the other thing. We are not actually going to open up the brake hydraulic system, anything from the master cylinder down to your calipers. That's all going to stay sealed up and everything. What we are going to do is we're going to take the two bolts off that hold this, pull it to the side, pull our brake booster out of the way, and slap all the new stuff in. Where it gets tricky is power steering pump. We've got to knock the pulley off and probably going to take the alternator off and take this whole bracket off. It kind of makes it a little bit easier to get down there. We've got some hoses to change out, but here is the kicker of this whole project. My truck is an 04, and a lot of these newer trucks are coming out with rack and pinion steering, and they do not have HydroBoost on them. So I'm not 100% sure if any of the HydroBoost units had rack and pinion steering. They may not. If they have, that may be something for me to go chase down and go see if I can find some components, because I'm afraid that we're going to run into some problems with the hoses. And the one I'm really concerned about is this hose right here. This is the one that comes off the back side, and this actually runs down to the rack and pinion gearbox assembly. Whereas on mine, I have, don't know if you can see, but this is a little adapter metal line that fits into this and goes down to your rack and pinion pressure side. So it looks like there may be some different fittings on that. I might be able to get this thing bent a certain way to make it work right. We'll just kind of get there. Another thing, the power steering pumps, I don't actually think there's a lot of difference in there. I've read that maybe the HydroBoost units have a little bit more pressure, and they say just change out the pressure regulator in them. I don't know. I'm going to dig into that one a little bit further. So anyway, I've rambled on enough about this. Let's get started, and yeah, let's just get started. Ugh, it's hot. Welcome to Oklahoma, where it's only like 100 and God knows what. Let's see. My shop, 76 degrees. At least it's not terribly hot in here, because outside it's like 100. But anyway, power steering pump pulley is off. That took forever. So now we'll take out those 3 bolts right there that hold it and see what we can work with. Alright, while you were gone, pulled off the alternator and the bracket, and that gives us a whole lot more room down here to work. There's our pump, and down there is our rack and pinion pressure port and return port. So anyway, I think I'm going to start by crawling in the cab and getting that thing out of here, and we'll see where everything goes from there. So hang tight. Alright, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, here is where the fun starts. So, see if I can, there's the rod for your master cylinder, and you can see the mounting bolts right there, those 2 up there, and then there's 2 of them that are like kind of right there and right there. Light doesn't, see if we can see them, those 2 right there. And we also have to get the rod off the pedal, which that's going to be a pain on itself, but I guess you just got to get to it. So hold tight, here we go. Don't know if I'm aimed it or it's going to survive, but we'll find out soon enough. Pedals free. Time to grab some 15mm ratchets and stuffs. We'll surf that one out. Let's see if we can get her pulled out. All she wrote. Anyway, if you're doing this little project, there's a dimple right here, So the new master cylinder doesn't quite, it will not use these 4 holes, which is unfortunate. So you actually have to drill a hole right here, and so that stuff will have to come out. Get my finger out of there. But I almost wonder if I can take the brake pedal out from here. Anyway, but since I got all that stuff out, I'm gonna work on getting this brake pedal out and get that thing swapped out since I have some room now. So hold tight. Okay, so for my next trick, here's our brake pedal. You really can't hardly see it up there, but that bolt right there is what holds this brake pedal in. I'm not going to film me taking this thing out, but it's up there. It's kind of a pain, so I'll get back to you here directly. So here you can see the difference in the stud mount on the brake pedals. This is the original pedal that was on my truck, factory, with vacuum assist brakes. This is a factory pedal with HydroBoost. So the length from here to here is a lot shorter than this one from here to here. So there is a difference in brake pedals. So definitely keep that in mind when you're gathering parts for this project. Huh. First try. Well, I guess now we get it all secured on the inside. All right, everybody. Here's where we're at for the night. The new HydroBoost is in. I drilled that hole, shoved it all in there, bolted it all down. Master cylinder is bolted back up the way it went. And I was kind of curious as to if this was going to work, so I went ahead and tried out one hose and ran it down. This was the one I wasn't sure was going to work really well with the power steering rack and pinion line, but I actually got it down in there. It actually started. I did have to manipulate it a little bit, but it does work. The factory one does work. Ultimately, it has kind of a little S shape to it. I'd like to have cut that off and reflared it to that. I still may do that. I'm going to look into some of those flaring kits. I have a really nice hydraulic flaring tool, and I'm going to see if I can find one for power steering lines. And if so, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it off, cut it, flare it, make it all work. Also, inside the cab, the new brake pedal is in place and bolted down. I've still got to put the retaining clip on and the brake light switch. But that's where we are for the evening. The only thing I have left to do is put the new power steering pump on. Here's the one that came out of the truck. As you can see, they are pretty much identical as far as pumps go. Front of this one, front of that one, I mean, really there's no difference. So anyway, tomorrow we are going to get the new pump stabbed and try to get it all bolted up, filled up with fluid and bled out, and see if it works. So hold on tight, we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so it's day 2 of the HydroBoost conversion, and today at work I was kind of contemplating how that line went on. Last night I showed you kind of I wanted to try it out, that one top line going down to the actual steering rack. It had a whole lot of bends in it, and I didn't like it because it just kind of, it was forced in there. So I did some thinking, and along the lines last night, you know, I broke out my my flare kit. This is the Master Cool kit for you know, flaring brake lines and transmission lines and things like that. I was trying to figure out how to make these lines right here. Seems straightforward and everything to use it as the fuel line, but this thing has a slight flare to it that holds an O-ring in place. So when you build, that's one I built, so it looks almost the same, it just doesn't have the flare. So when you actually do put the O-ring in there, it actually just cuts the O-ring to shreds. There's like 2 pieces of it. So anyway, I was like, well, what can I use? So I work in the oil and gas industry, so we have tubing lines and everything that sometimes we have to repair and fix. So we have unions and splices, and basically it's a basic compression fitting. It's got a ferrule in it and things like that. Here's one of them that I kind of had in my service truck, but just a standard little fitting. Has a ferrule in it and a nut, just a tube nut. Pretty simple. You've seen these all over the place, but these are rated for like hydraulics and gases and things like that. So their pressure ratings are up in the thousands of pounds of pressure. Tie Lock, Swedge Lock, those are the companies that build these high pressure ferrules and compression fittings. So it's like, well, maybe I can make this work the way I want to. So what I ended up doing was I went out, got me a ferrule and a union, and then I just cut that bendy part out, and that's what I've got. So now when this thing goes down in there, I'll have to get a better view, but alright, let's see if I can fish this thing down in here. There is here's our line for our new pressure line into the rack, and you can see the compression union that I put in there. It's all in place. But what I like about that is, maneuver this thing here, you don't have such an aggressive turn. You don't have a bunch of stuff cobbled up right there, and it makes just a nice sweet little transition right there. So we're gonna get the rest of this put in. So I gotta change out a few brackets, and then we'll start bolting the power steering pump back in place. Okay, that's kind of loosely bolted up in there. How much of this stuff is just gonna be all the way. Close enough. Plug that in first, because if not, it kind of gets into that. Alright, power steering pump is in, alternator bracket is back in place. Still looking for one bolt. I think it fell somewhere. I'll have to hunt that up here in a little bit. But next thing I need to do is get this mounted back to the bracket and tighten up that bolt on the side down there. So I'm going to get that done and then we'll go do something else. Alright, very last hose. This is the return hose. It's the one that goes on that fitting right there, and it just kind of snakes its way down to this upward fitting. Put the fit on there, and that's the end of that. The other thing is this connector right here. This went to that vacuum assist canister. It's reading on forums and everything that if this is not hooked up, it'll throw a code. So I think you jump the end wires and that bypasses the message. It doesn't come up on the dashboard or anything like that. I'm going to look into that one a little bit further, but what I want to do is I've seen where somebody just bought a dummy clip or a dummy plug that plugs in, makes it look really clean, and then I'm just going to tuck this up behind somewhere right there. So anyway, I'm going to finish putting that on and get the belt put back on and get this thing flushed out, and we'll see how things go. Okay, so we've got this thing finished up. I don't know how well you're going to be able to hear this, but new HydroBoost is in. Everything's working like it's supposed to be. I kind of drove this thing back and forth in the garage a little bit, just checking to make sure the brakes work, the steering works, and everything like that. So far, so good. Brake pedal sits in about the right position, and all the gauges are where they are working like they're supposed to, I guess. But anyway, so far this has been a success. There's a few things I want to show you here in just a second, so hang tight. Alright, this is the end that goes into the back of the intake manifold, and this is your old brake booster line. That's for vacuum reference for some of my wastegate and stuff like that, so that's not actually supposed to be there on a factory type vehicle. But since you've changed to a HydroBoost unit, you have no use for that hose anymore. So if you're running around the salvage yard, you can find the little plug that's in the back of those intakes. They look just like that, except there's just a blank end on it. It's kind of got like a little push to lock thing on the back of the intake. You push it in, this pulls out, and then you just stuff the other one in there. So to clear up some confusion, here's I went ahead and pulled this out of the back of my intake. This is the plug that I was talking about. So since your brake booster line isn't needed anymore, this is just a blank plug that fits perfectly in that intake port. So like I said, you can probably find one of these at your salvage yard for any HydroBoost vehicles. It's just back of the intake, just like the hose is. It has a little quick connect push lock style thing. So that's it. Alright, so here's our initial test drive around the neighborhood. Well, she made her first stop. But she's running real lean, and I think I know why. I think I pulled that plug out to do another shot for it to give everybody a better picture of it. So I think we'll just whip back around to the house and put that back in, because she is about, maybe she's starting to straighten out. So anyway, steering feels good. Brakes still feel good. Just kind of making our way around the test track. Plus it's like 107 degrees today, so yeah, not too bad. It's gonna take a bit to get used to, but we'll make sure this thing is gonna stop completely like it's supposed to. So steering is good still, so it's always a plus. But anyway, you know, all in all, I think it's a successful install. So we'll chalk this one up, and if anything else comes of it, you know, we'll do an update. But other than that, we'll just tool around the neighborhood a bit. We'll get this one chalked up to a win. So anyway, guys, appreciate y'all sticking around, and maybe we'll try to get some track footage here in the next couple weeks or so.